So I've always loved the idea of a Cine Rig. I remember sticking on films and going into the behind the scenes and seeing this setup, which I just thought looked so cool and had all these like handles and stuff on it, but I didn't really have any idea what it actually did. So I thought, instead of just like jumping straight into it, also I was like 10, so I couldn't actually get any of it at that point. I thought I would start from scratch. So this is what I started with. It's a Sony DSC-H300, and it was okay. Like it's all right. I mean, I had to start somewhere, about 100 quid, but at the time I was just starting out, and this could do the job that I needed it to. But then as time went on, I improved skills and I upgraded. I went from that camera to this camera. This is the Canon 60D. It's got a Sigma 10-20 on it. And because it's a 60D, like this is from 2010, it's quite old. So actually having a proper rig on this is quite hard because you can't actually get a cage on here. And if you did, it's huge and it's just horrible. But I just added some grips, added some audio on it, and it was all right. It was good, but you know, it was still only able to shoot about 1080. But at the time, again, it was okay. I didn't really have a need to upgrade from this for quite a bit of time. But then in 2021, previous year, that's when I upgraded to this. This is the Sony A7 III with a Sigma 24-70 on it, and this thing's great. It's brilliant. It does everything that I need it to do. I can shoot 1080, 120 frames. I can shoot 4K, which I hadn't ever been able to do on any of this stuff. And at this point, I could actually kit it out properly, but at the time, I didn't have to. I was mainly just taking pictures. I didn't shoot a lot of film at the time. But then almost a year after that, I'm in a position where kitting it out would actually help me, because now I shoot a lot of stuff on this too. And there's some problems that I have when putting this camera on here that having a cage and the attachments would actually help quite a lot. But the only issue is, with this and a huge rig, it's quite hard to put it on there. And as much as I love smooth gimbal shots, I also quite enjoy handheld. So is there a way that I could kit this out, put it on here, and then just slide it off and go into handheld and just keep doing that all the time? So with that backstory out the way, here are my 4 solutions to solving the problem of going from the gimbal to handheld as quickly as possible. Let's get into today's video. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another video. My name, as always, is Dan Flinter, and this, as I said, is my Sony A7 III. It's a great camera. It's the best purchase I've made in the past year, but when paired with my gimbal, there are 4 issues that I have found that can be solved with just the help of a Cine Rig. Those issues are the focus motor from the RS2 getting in the way of the lock, no ideal place to attach microphone, the DJI Raven Eye needs to be attached to the camera so the removal from the gimbal is seamless, and a better way to mount the camera to the gimbal as the plate is not secure enough. So before we get into any of that, I just want to quickly talk about the cage that I'm going to be using today. Not a lot to talk about this. It's not anything from Small Rig or Tilter or any of those huge brands. The only reason I got this is that for half the price of a Small Rig, I can get all of these holes on here, because there's a lot of stuff that I need to put on this cage. But this is pretty good. It's about 50 quid. If you want to have a check at this, I'll put it in my description. Great. That is the cage on the camera. So let's tackle the first problem. So the problem that I found with the DJI RS2 plate that they provide to attach the focus motor is that when I attach it, it actually gets in the way of the lock on the RS2. So if I just quickly demonstrate that. So when I put the rod onto the camera, it's actually getting in the way of the lock on the RS2, and it's just a bit of a pain when I'm trying to have things be as quick as possible. Like, I don't want to have to like faff around all the time. So if there was a way to actually get this up on top of the camera, that would actually solve every problem that I've had, which is what I've done. And this is the piece that I have got. This is the Small Rig rod clamp with NATO rail parts 3011. And this has been a great help. So this just goes on top of the cage very easily. Just gets an Allen key out of my pocket. And what I do is I just screw this on the front of the camera with 2 screws. Just like that. Now the only issue that I've had is that the rod that comes with the RS2 is 12 millimeters, and that rod clamp right there is 15. So I've literally got some tape and put it over it. I think they do sell adapters, but just a bit of tape on it hasn't been too bad. So we literally slot that on top, and then what we do is we just slide that onto the rod, and then we take off the cap and the hood, and that is what we have right there. So that has solved issue 1. So instead of it being in the way of the clamp on the RS2, it is now up in the air, out of the way. Now, I'm still quite early on when it comes to, you know, doing film. Like, I've only just picked it up over the past year or so. So I still don't have an external screen. You know, I don't have a Free World monitor or an Atomos Shinobi. Feel World, is it? I thought it was free. Feel World, Free World.
I'm pretty sure it's Feel World.
I thought it was free. Who's right? Place your bets now.
Place your bets. How much do you want to owe me?
However, what I love about the RS2 paired with the Raven Eye is that I can actually use my phone as a screen. That's been really handy to me. But what I would love is to get the phone up from the RS2 straight onto the camera. So what I've got with that, got a handle, got a phone mount, got a cold shoe adapter, and of course the Raven Eye itself and the iPhone. So the first part that we have the Small Rig multifunctional cold shoe mount with safety release part 2797. And what this is going to be used for is to attach the Raven Eye to the camera. Because the problem with the RS2 is that it clips and clamps underneath. And I want to be able to slide the camera off and not really have to be fussed about where it's going to go. So that just sits on top of the camera. And then with the Raven Eye, what I do with this, slide it on, and this clamp, the rod system that I've attached, actually adds a bit of friction to it. Now, I have screwed it in the incorrect place. So what I'm going to do is unscrew it and put it in again.
That's what she said.
So I'm going to screw that in, slide it on, and you might want to adjust the rod just a little bit.
That's what she said.
You need to stop. And because it's a little bit under there, it's actually adding a bit of friction, so it's actually staying in place. If this isn't here, it isn't quite tight enough, don't you dare. But with that rod in place, it's actually a really good fit. And then we take the cable, and that goes into the small HDMI of the camera and the HDMI in the Raven Eye, and what you get, it looks something just like that, and that is a really sturdy fit, which is really good. So that's the first bit. The next bit is the handle. It's just from a company called Photo Better, CR-HGN, who knows. But what I love about this is a NATO rail handle, which is what I've got on top. This makes it easier to slide it on and take it off again when packing it into the camera bag that I have. So just gonna place it there, feels pretty good. And then this again is just a cheap phone holder. It does the job. It's got a horseshoe on it as well. And that slides in at the front. Screw that down, and when everything is turned on and switched on, I can put my phone in the top, and then that acts as the screen. And as you can start to see, the Cine Rig is starting to come along quite well. Third problem that I've been having is that I do like the option of attaching audio, but when putting it on the RS2, there's not really a good place to attach it, and because the audio that I use has got such a short lead, I don't want cables flying everywhere. I don't want to have like huge ones. That's kind of just, ugh, I don't want to have that. So what I found is that this handle has been extremely handy. This is the Small Rig DSLR wooden NATO side handle part 2915. And where this goes, again on the side, I've got a NATO right here. And this literally just screws on, and again, easy for packing away and taking it off if I actually want to use this camera to take pictures. So that looks like right there. And what this is is that this has got a hot shoe, cold shoe mount on here. That's a cold, isn't it? Is that hold?
I'm going to say yes.
Cool. It's a mount. And then what I can do is I can take this from my old camera and flick open the microphone port and attach the audio in there. And that way we have audio. Because when I'm attaching it to the RS2, it's not clipping here. I'm not clipping it here, don't have this stringy thing, you know, the lead just stays up there and it does not get in the way of the RS2 doing its thing. And we are one step closer to having a proper rig. Now, the final problem that I've been having is going back to this plate right here that DJI provides. It's an Arca Swiss plate. The problem is, it's only got a point of contact. Now, I know a lot of people who own the RS2 and they have the same problem. It just keeps spinning. It doesn't matter how tight you screw it, it will just keep coming undone. And I was like, yeah, can't have that anymore. So the solution that I have found is again from Small Rig. So this is the Small Rig extended archetype quick release plate for the DJI RS2 and RS-C2 gimbal part 3162. And then what this does is that this just goes straight under, and then it's just a case of screwing it all the screws down. The great thing about this is that this has got 3 points of contact. It's brilliant. What we have is 3 points of contact. So this means that this thing is really sturdy now. So after that plate is on the camera, after a while, you can put the handle and the phone back on, attach the Raven Eye up top, make sure that is plugged in properly. And then what we can do, just put that to one side for the moment, bring over the RS2. All we've got to do is slide this onto the camera, and then we have a bit of a rig coming along. Now, when I actually shoot all of this stuff, I do take off the handle on top, and obviously the phone is here on the attached arm that DJI give you. And then literally, if I want to go to handheld, just take the camera off here, put it up the top. If I want to put it back onto the RS2, I just take the phone and put it over here. So it just looks a little something like that. Clean as that, simple as that. And that, for the most part, is the Cine Rig that I use to go from handheld to the RS2 as quickly as possible. Now, there are a few other parts that I do add to this, just to make it be a bit more of a Cine Rig and have it look a bit more just like a Cine Rig. So the first part I have is this 15mm rod system. So it's got a plate underneath, which is a Manfrotto style plate. So I can put that onto quite a few tripods. And then what that will do is it attaches onto the camera with an Arca Swiss clamp, which is something just like that. And then over time, I'm not quite there at this point, but I can add stuff onto it. Like I can add extra power supply on the back, which will be extremely handy because I don't have to keep swapping out stuff each and every time. And then also, I can literally just put that onto an Arca Swiss tripod as well. So I've got the two options. So again, that just goes onto the clamp, just like that. It looks a little bit like that. And then the final part is I add a matte box onto the front. This was sent out by Polar Pro. This isn't sponsored, I think that I should say that. But I was very blessed to be sent this out today. I don't know if that's the correct word to use. But all in all, this just really helps to bring all of it together. This product is made so well, and I've been extremely happy with how it has helped me when trying to shoot a film. So just got the circular polarizer to put in there first. So that just slots underneath. And I put the clamp on front of the camera, and that simply just screws on. He says, simply. There we go. And then that just attaches onto the front. And then what we have next is the 2 to 5 ND, which looks a little something like that. And if I just move the phone out of the way, this will just slot into the front just like that, very easy, and you can tighten that on the side. And all you do is open the front and it looks a little something just like that. And that is the rig that I am using for 2022. Now, will this work on the RS2? Technically yes, but you might have to do a few adjustments. So you take off the system underneath, you slide this onto the RS2, you take a few bits and pieces off, just like this. Make sure it goes pretty much all the way. And the good thing about the matte box is that this actually unclips to just reduce a bit of the weight. And there you have pretty interesting RS2 setup, which you can just simply slide on and off really easily. So that is my rig for 2022. It isn't complete. I'm sure I'll still be adding stuff to it as time goes on, but that is for a later date. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Ding that bell so you are notified next time I upload on the channel, and I will see you all in the next video. Cheers, guys.